Ready.
Hi everybody. We're now home celebrating in our condo. We had a great meeting this morning with the health critic. That's basically the person who is in the second most powerful party in the Ontario Parliament. Her job is basically to shadow the health minister and to critique her job performance and things like why do we have people waiting in the hallways for medical care in the hospitals, or why is this thing the cost of this ballooning much higher than we're estimated, and why are these people suffering in this way or that way or whatever. So she's in the position to raise she could say, what are you doing about the fluoroquinolone disaster, and the people on the other side's jaws will drop and wonder, it's like, well, what the heck is she talking about? So we're a bit, she's not at the point where she can do that because we really don't have her ducks in a row, but we had a great meeting. She was asking for a variety of information. She was really interested in lawsuits, and she was said that when we talked about how the other countries in the world are reducing their use of fluoroquinolones, a little bit in the U.S., dramatically in the European Medicines Agency has greatly restricted the use of fluoroquinolones. She asked about that, what countries, and we rattled off a few, and I said Belgium, and she goes, Belgium's medical system is very similar to ours. They're modeled on, and she goes, so I would be very interested in what they've done in Belgium to reduce use of fluoroquinolones, and if there's any like documents on this or whatever. And so I don't know about Belgium in particular, but I do know that happened in Europe, and that also the results have been that C. difficile and MRSA have both plummeted with the reduced use of fluoroquinolones. So it's just, not only are people being harmed left and right, but I mean, they squandered the big guns. These antibiotics should have just been kept in like infectious diseases hospitals and only busted out now and then in weird cases where people really had failed use. I described to her how I'm one of the people that was actually probably saved by a fluoroquinolone. I mean, most people, we explained, the vast majority of people that have had this happen to them had it for a trivial infection or for no infection at all. They were given these drugs prophylactically, and their lives have been destroyed. And so I told you, when I was in the hospital, I had a hospital-acquired infection from a surgery on my ankle that was eating away at my ankle and beginning to go septic. And so I had a pretty serious MRSA infection, and there was some discussion of the possibility of amputation. And they said, but it's highly unlikely. We're just we can hit it with the combination of Levaquin and cephalexin, and it should it'll kill just about anything, they said, and they were right. So it kept me alive, but my idiot doctors gave me too much for too long, in conjunction with a wide variety of other drugs that are contraindicated, meaning they cause a toxic reaction in the body. And so I blew up, which the thing is, most people who have these adverse reactions, it's a delayed. They may even have some things going on, but they're not connecting the little pain in their finger, or a little twitch, or a little anxiety, or something, a little wheezing, or whatever with the antibiotic. They're just thinking that this is happening, or they got a cold, or this or that. But it cascades, and a few more things, and then more serious things set in, and their teeth start crumbling out of their mouth, and so on and so forth, and they get these horrific adverse reactions. And we explained how they're misdiagnosed, and that the doctors refuse to believe the patients when it happens. But in the situation where I was at, I actually probably needed it, and but I told her that doctors just don't get that prescribing fluoroquinolones is so serious that I wish doctors would have done something less radical than prescribe me Levaquin like cut my leg off and prescribe me a safer antibiotic. And I said, any doctor that doesn't get that prescribing Levaquin is in the same league as cutting off a limb is a menace to their patients. It's just we have an atrocity occurring on a massive scale, and there are countless numbers of people that have been harmed by these drugs and have had their condition misdiagnosed as fibromyalgia, as lupus, Parkinson's disease, ALS, chronic fatigue, autoimmune disorders, and they're floxed. Even Lyme, there's people diagnosed with Lyme, and they may or may not have Lyme, but if they've been given a bunch of Cipro for their Lyme, they're floxed. They keep taking more Cipro, thinking that they've got die-off of the Lyme disease, and that if they just take some more Cipro, they'll kill the thing, and it's actually just poisoning them more and more. It's a double tragedy, and we have a lot of, most of us are facing multiple tragedies, and like we have, they gave us maybe benzodiazepines, and we got into benzo addiction while we're floxed, and just so many horror stories of polypharmacy that we're just prescribed too many drugs too often. Like my doctor doubled the dose, tripled the duration on a whim. And these drugs are like chemo drugs. It's like giving someone chemo without telling them, and then deciding that you're going to give them 6 times as much as the company recommended because you just really want to kick that cancer's ass. But you didn't even tell the patient or warn them that you're giving them chemo, and then when they come in and report that all kinds of horrible, crazy things are happening to them, you're in complete denial that the drug they prescribed is the cause, and this is it's a crime. It's a crime that's happening, and so we wrapped up the meeting because we showed up to the meeting late. It was kind of high pressure. She agreed that we could record it, but then the other two were getting their coats off and stuff. And by the time they got in, she was just pretty much asking them questions, who they were, what their story was, and we just didn't get it recorded. We've had technical difficulties, but we're learning. And next year we will have our ducks in a row. This is the equipment. It's in a specific box. Someone is fully dedicated to managing the equipment and making sure the things are charged and that the right cord is with the right thing, and we have long microphone cables with clips, and we have stands for cameras so that we can put them in different positions, and we have a lot of ideas as far as how we're going to put this thing together. Next year is going to be the big year. This was the last year. This is a little thing, and that was that kind of leads. There was a bunch of other things we talked about in the meeting, and we also got to explore around with our visitor passes and go get some photographs and some videos and just some knowledge about the building layout and stuff, and even just to be seen, more of the security, that we're with the Phlox thing, and we pull into the parking lot. Oh, you're with the Phlox thing, right? Yep, thank you. Okay, park right there, anywhere you want. They love us here. We're their favorite event. Even just yesterday we were doing our rally, and students chanting and almost like the pitchfork type thing came storming up on the place unannounced. Several hundred people waving placards and shouting about free education, and she goes, yeah, it's like that here all the time. We never know what's happening. They're coming from every direction, and we'll just get. She goes, we just got a phone call 10 minutes ago that they were coming up University Avenue by the hundreds, and so we had to get staff out here and call the police and just make sure that. And so we have to take your podium away, and. I was like, okay, cool. And she goes, then just stay back and let them do what they're doing. And if they show interest, you can hand them cards. And so a few people did. And so once the students were on their way to Einstein's Pub, which seemed to be, I have no idea where it's at, but that was the big meeting place afterwards for all the students. And a bunch of them went over with cards. So That was yesterday and the meeting this morning. But last night we did a meeting with David Carmichael of Canadians for Vanessa's Law. We have another good video with that, and then he gave a presentation to us that was basically a trial run of something he's working on for the future. He runs it's the Know Your Drugs campaign, and yesterday was the 5th annual anniversary of the passing of Vanessa's Law, which is the most aggressive law on the planet as far as holding drug companies accountable, and it allows for Canada to charge drug companies $5 million a day for noncompliance with per issue. And I mean, if they have multiple issues, they could be fined even more than that. And it's got more teeth than any law on the planet, but they're having trouble getting it enforced, and it's actually being used as a blueprint to come up with laws and ways to circumvent the law, whether it's by changing the definition of words that were used in the document, or whether it's by transferring responsibility of things from the federal government to the provinces, and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, it's there, and there's his organization is Canadians for Vanessa's Law, and there's a lot of people working with him, including David Healy from Risk, which, if you're not familiar with the page and things that Risk has done, that's RX, like prescription risk. They've got a graphic on fluoroquinolones that is still simply the best out there, and I highly recommend you look at that. So that was the great news about the meeting last night, is that Know Your Drugs is slowly but surely putting together a campaign where they're going to take it on the road and do presentations all over the place, across Canada at least, and it's focused primarily on the guys. David Carmichael has a horror story from taking Paxil. He took Paxil and for depression and anxiety and he killed his son. Coldly, calmly murdered his 11-year-old boy, and he has to live with that and the stigma from that for the rest of my life, or his life. And I think about my hell and the physical pain I've been through, and I really thought that I couldn't imagine it, other than somebody floxed even worse than me, or floxed worse than me and dealing with cancer or some kind, just some horrible thing like that. But I think of his hell. And I just I'd rather be me. I just can't even imagine that. And so he is passionately. His like I say, kind of know sometimes about they flocked the wrong man. Well, he's a man on a mission, and he has a lawsuit against them that is moving ahead in Canada. GlaxoSmithKline's attempts to multiple appeals to get him dismissed have all failed, and the judges have been pretty blunt about it, I guess. He says a pretty strong, sound dismissal of their attempts, and encouraging that he can go ahead with the lawsuit, and that would basically hold them accountable for the murder instead of him. And that's his efforts are to on a personal level to communicate to people that a lot of their attitude is that he got away with murder, and his answer is no, GlaxoSmithKline got away with murder, and that his family is the victim, and his boy is gone, and he has to live with the hell, and it's not his fault. And so he is on our side, and David Healy at Risk knows who we are, and he just said basically that there's a network of doctors and people that are just inspired by us, that they know how hard we were hit, and yet they see us out here doing this rally every year and organizing other things in America and so on and so forth. It's not just us. We're shout out to Randy Whiteside and his efforts just last week with Charlie Bennett. Thank you, both of you, for your efforts. Meeting in Missouri. I don't remember. I read it a week ago, and it's been a mighty long week. So yeah, things are on the move. This is the year it's happening. It's 2020 is going to be a different year than 2019. We're seeing this rally next year. I'm asking people to think about coming next year. We've got our ducks in a row. We know where the cool places are to stay. We know what the timing is to get out of the, when you scoot up and down the elevator from the 30th floor to the ground floor in a couple minutes in the middle of the night or in the afternoon, and then you think you're going to do that at 8 in the morning when you're on your way to the rally, and the thing is stopping at every other floor, and it's 15 minutes to get down. So we were late, but we were already running late. But yeah, it's in the elevator delay thing, and so yeah, we're just learning. I'm been putting this together with Terry. She lives here, so she's got knowledge and connections and stuff, and there's usually other people in the area, but I don't know Toronto, and I don't know Canadian politics. I failed to grow up in California and lived most of my life high in the Colorado Rockies, and I don't really know the system here. I don't know the media. I don't watch television, so I'm not learning that way either. I read the news a bit, but I basically nose to the grindstone on this project all the time, and so I'm learning. We're there. We're at the point where I think next year we can have a variety of classes at University of Toronto in the evening. This could become a seminar, symposium, conference, annual thing with people coming in who are floxed or people who are loved ones of floxies or together, and survivors like Randy Whiteside, for example, and doctors, researchers. We're talking about people from nonprofit organizations and from governments all over the world that are trying to put together programs to cope with this massive disaster. I mean, it's just this is billions of dollars, billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars around the world every year of people who go from being healthy, contributing members of society, paying taxes and whatever, to becoming an unbelievable burden on the system, and not able to contribute just in any ways that they were. I mean, maybe so. We it's not that we can't contribute at all, but I mean, we just are so caught up in basically what it takes to take care of ourselves now. It's just people, it's like they take a shower and go out. It's like taking a shower is part of my day. That's just like, if I can do 10 things today normally. I'm doing 25 things a day right now, but it's every year after this I'm down for weeks or months, and Cindy's not here at all because she was down for 8 months last year, and she barely survived. This is hard on us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been highly successful. We other things. The meeting, we went out knocking doors on Hospital Row there. Basically, University of Toronto medical facilities there are the top in Canada, and it's just a row of there's the Sick Kids Hospital, the Women's Hospital, the General Hospital, the Mount Sinai Hospital, the Cancer Hospital, the Biomolecular Research Hospital, and half a dozen other major facilities, all like right there in a row next to each other. And we went knocking on doors, and the physiotherapy school, the gal, she was like the assistant to the dean, and she was really receptive, listened to us for 25 minutes, took notes, asked questions, asked more questions, and when it started, it was like, yeah, I'll pass this on to the dean. And when we were leaving, she goes, I'll make a good solid pitch to the dean for you, and I'll get back to you myself on what she says. I can envision a mass email about fluoroquinolones to the entire student body, and possibly having you guys come in and do a presentation to a class or some classes, and see what happens with that. But that would be cool. Teach a bunch of new physiotherapists about how to not hurt, or even a protocol for people who are floxed, because as we explained to her, it's like we go in, and if the therapist doesn't understand that we have a connective tissue disorder, and they torque on us in a way that they normally would torque on someone, we rip and tear and have major issues. I mean, like everyone else, if the medical community is harming us because of what happened to us. We get prescribed drugs, we get misdiagnosed and then prescribed drugs that don't help us and make us worse, and no one in the system just doesn't even believe us. It's just, we're treated like nutcases or pill seekers or people. It's Cipro. Bayer even went out of their way to. They would troll us in the early days. We would be on the social media, on Facebook, commenting like there'd be an article, and everyone in the community would show up and post about what happened to us, and there'd be people showing up claiming that they took Cipro and that there was nothing wrong, they loved Cipro, and there'd be other people attacking us and this and that, and there'd be an article with Levaquin or a newscast with Levaquin, and those people weren't there. And then there'd be one with Cipro, and they'd be there again. And we called them out on it, and they never showed up again. I think a couple times before they realized we were onto them, but it was clearly coming from Bayer. It was like these people are only attacking us when it's an article about Cipro, and there's David Melvin. Shout out to him for his efforts, and I think it was him that shared some ads. Like job recruitment ads for people to go work for companies that do this type of thing. It's like we're not imagining it. There are people that work for the pharmaceutical industry that go out there and troll people for a living. And I mean, there's companies that have whole payrolls of people doing that. And they stopped targeting us that way, or at least maybe they're still there, but they're not as ham-handed. It was like we caught them, we called them, and so now they're probably more subtle. But finally we've reached a point when WebMD or CNN or the doctors or whatever does a newscast or an article with us. It's like between us or showing up as an organized response and the generic, the actual response of the population of people just like, oh my gosh, that's what happened to me, or I took that, and I think that's what happened to my mom, and it's just the articles are exploding. We're on the brink of widespread awareness. I believe next year will be the year that people really start to learn the word floxed, and I think we're 2 years away from where it's common knowledge. We're seeing it in the media with like the Property Brothers, like JD Property Brother, whatever his name is. He is openly talking about having fluoroquinolone toxicity in the media, and there's so many other people that have mentioned it. The consumer Clark Howard, is that it? He openly admitted that he was floxed, although they said again it was the rare combination of the fluoroquinolone with some other drug, and it's like there's some truth to that, but it's not like people don't drop dead on the first pill without a single other drug factoring in. Hugely successful day for us, or a week for us. We also had just a great time getting together with the different people. Even it's so heartening to see the chain reaction going on, where 12 years ago people gave me a tip that Global TV might be interested in doing a newscast on fluoroquinolones. So I contacted them and talked to them, and they put the newscast together and came to Ottawa and filmed me and another guy, and then they filmed another gal in Toronto, and did a really great episode of the program called 16 by 9 Bitter Pill is the episode, and it's on YouTube. And people, so many people I've heard have said that they figured out what happened to them or whatever because of that, including Terry here. And so Terry and I have been working together to raise awareness for years and years now. And she handed out these cards at pharmacies in her area. And so there's a guy, Paul, who showed up yesterday at the rally. It was like, hey, how are you doing? And he's reading the stuff, standing there. He goes, I'd be doing a lot better if I wasn't floxed. And it was like none of us knew him. He's not on Facebook. It was just because of our efforts, just the chain reaction going on here. And so we keep handing out these cards. We keep doing these things, and people show up out of the blue. We reached them. It's working. And if we all keep doing this, we will win. We're winning. We're winning. And it's a slow, big, long battle. But if we're not at the tipping point, the tipping point is within sight. I feel sorry for everyone that's been affected by the opioid crisis, but it's opening eyes. People are realizing that the drug industry intentionally lied about the OxyContin and intentionally misrepresented it and have done everything they can to circumvent being responsible about marketing it. I mean, their goal has been to get as many people addicted on their drug as possible. And I mean, the track record pretty much shows that in all the companies that have mass marketed these drugs. I mean, the drug companies are criminal. They're drug dealers. That's basically what this comes down to. We are victims of crimes, and the drug companies are drug dealers, and they need to be held accountable. And I plan to be one of the voices, a global voice for that cause. And we're winning. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.